Musical musings, musical musings, musical musings, musical musings.
Good afternoon. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our Musical Musings program. We air this program every Wednesday at 1 p.m. from Rajamakan University of Technology, Peranakan. We will bring this program to you in two parts. For our first part, I'm going to introduce an artist for you, a singer or a band. I will introduce an artist to you and one of their songs. I'll give you some background on the artist. I'll give you a little bit of background on the song as well. And then we're going to go ahead and listen to the song. After we listen to the song, we will then, in part two, go over the lyrics or the words of the song. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about anything that might be difficult to understand, any difficult vocabulary words, any slang terms that we might use, any phrases or sayings that we might use as well that kind of don't mean what the words say. So there may be some things that are a little tricky to understand in the lyrics. So we'll go over that in the second part of the song. After that, we'll have the news and latest updates from the university, as always.
Musical musings, musical musings, musical musings, musical musings.
Welcome, everyone. I'm Gary Gray, and I'm your host for the Musical Musings program. I'm an English teacher here at Rajamakan University of Technology, Peranakan. I've been teaching here for about 7 years. I like to incorporate music into my classroom sometimes, and so that's why I am hosting our musical program here. All right, so for today, we're going to do a very famous song that a lot of you probably know. We're going to be doing Hotel California by the Eagles. So let's talk about the Eagles a bit. First of all, just one little side note about the Eagles. Their name is a little bit weird. Their name is really just Eagles. Everyone says the Eagles just because it sounds more natural. But just so you know, and in fact, that's what I call them. I call them the Eagles. But just so you know, it's really Eagles. Okay, so they are an American band. I actually thought that one or two of them might have been born in England. I wasn't sure about that. I had to look it up. No, they're all Americans. Every one of them are Americans. And they formed in 1971 in Los Angeles. They are probably one of the most famous bands. Excuse me. They're probably one of the most famous bands of all time. They may not be quite right up there with the very top ones like the Rolling Stones or Beatles, but they're only about one notch below. One of the biggest problems the band has had, though, is that there's been a lot of friction between some of the band members. So they've broken up and gotten back together, and some band members have left, some new ones have come in. So it's been kind of up and down and crazy with the Eagles over the past, 50 years since they formed. But they are still around in some form today. I think some people might argue whether or not it's really still the Eagles. They have only one of their original members, and that is Don Henley. He was, however, one of the original founders, along with Glenn Frey. So you could say it's really still the Eagles. It's questionable because Don Henley also had a solo career. So why isn't it just not Don Henley with some other singers helping him? Instead, no, it's still the Eagles. So you can argue either way whether or not it's really still the Eagles, but that's what they call themselves. So they are still around. For me, I would say it is. I would say it is. They've still got one of their original artists. We see some of these bands that have been around a long time, switching out artists and such, so that they have this guy and this guy. So this guy leaves and he's still here. But then the new guy that came in to replace him stays, and this other guy leaves, and someone else comes in. So now the two guys you have here, neither of them were the original ones. So is that really still the original band when you don't have any of the original artists in it? I don't really think so. They've still got Don Henley. It's still the Eagles. That's how I look at it. Okay. So again, they've lost a lot, gained a lot of performers. So it's a little bit crazy, but Don Henley's still there. I would still say it's the Eagles, and I would bet most of the people listening to this have heard their song "Hotel California." That is probably their number one song of all time. So everyone knows that song. Well, maybe not everyone. It is a Western song. There are some people that don't know any Western songs, but it's one of the most famous songs most people know. It's been used in a bunch of movies as well. Very, very famous. All right. They do have a lot of famous songs. I'll mention some later in the second part of our program. But so there's a lot of other songs. There might be other songs that you like better than this, as a matter of fact. For me, I probably prefer Life in the Fast Lane, that song. But generally, this is their most famous. Okay, so it came out in the end of 1976. I believe it was December. So it came out in December of 1976. Of course, back then, we didn't have the internet. Things don't spread around quite as fast. So it takes a little time for songs to get more popular. You know, they get played on the radio. Someone listens to it. They say, "Oh, wow, you get to hear this song." Yeah, you have to. If you don't happen to hear it on the radio, then you got to go to the store and buy the album. And so, okay, next week I'll go to the store. Next weekend I'll go to the store, buy the album. You can't just download it online right away like that. So it takes a while for more and more and more people to listen to it, hear it. So it didn't really hit the top of the charts until May of 1977. So that's like almost 6 months after it came out. The song, it sounds kind of upbeat. Well, sort of. The notes in it have a little bit of a haunting sound to it, which is not very positive. But the whole kind of rhythm of the song, beat of the song, seems pretty upbeat. Even though it's pretty upbeat, it's actually kind of a sad song. It's about being naive, loss of innocence, and the tough side of life. What does loss of innocence mean? Loss of innocence means that, like when you're a kid, sometimes, unless you've had a terrible childhood, you sometimes think, oh, everything's perfect and nothing bad can happen. And you're protected because you're protected from bad things in the world. And so maybe you go out on a trip for the first time in your life, and you're really you aren't being cautious about your surroundings, for example. So maybe someone steals your wallet, something like that. Someone steals your phone because you're not being cautious because you think, oh, nothing bad could possibly happen. That's being innocent or naive. The word naive. So that's what this song is about. It's about losing that innocence. And that happens basically because these bad things happen to you. So these bad things happen, and now you're not so innocent anymore. Now you kind of expect bad things to happen. So you end up with a more negative outlook on life. So it's not really just about the bad things in life, but it's about bad things happening when you're not expecting bad things to happen. That's what I mean about the loss of innocence. Okay, but the message they're trying to send is actually more positive. When they wrote this song, they weren't thinking of, oh, let's write a bad, negative song that's really sad and depressing. No, it was more like it was more of a warning. It was a warning about how we have to improve society so these bad things that are happening to take away our innocence don't happen as much. So this song was about, hey, we got to do something about the bad things going on so we can make this world a better place. Unfortunately, I don't know how many people listened. If you look at the world now, we've still got a lot of problems. So I don't know. I don't know how far we've come. This song was written in 1977 or 1976, actually. I hit number one in 1977. This song was written in 1976. That's almost 50 years ago, and well, we still have a lot of problems. But the song was meant to be more of a warning about the bad things. And so in that sense, it was actually supposed to be, yeah, it's still negative because we're talking about the bad things, right? We're warning about those bad things. But it was meant to kind of wake you up and get you to make changes so that we can end those bad things. So it was supposed to be encouraging you to make the world a better place. Now, as you'll see when we go through the song, it's a really hard one to understand, and it might be even hard to get that message out of this. There were a few lines where it's kind of clear that maybe that's what it's about. But this is going to be one of our harder songs to do, our harder songs to understand. And as I tell you a lot of times when we do these songs, the artists don't usually tell you what it's about. I mean, we do know a little bit. I just explained to you. So we know a little bit about what the song's about. And so it's hard to interpret any song, really. But some of them are kind of a little more obvious. So we're able to interpret them. And usually when I'm presenting this program and we're going through the lyrics, I do try to interpret the meaning for you as best as I can. Not just what the words mean, but the whole meaning of the song. And the whole meaning of not the English meaning of the words, but I mean interpreting what the writer is trying to say. This one is really hard to do. There are some lines where it seems pretty clear, but not entirely. Like in the very last verse before the song ends, you can see that it's bad things happening. Person's trying to get away and he can't. He's stuck here. And it sounds like it's supposed to be a nice place because the Hotel California sounds kind of nice through most of this, but the way it's presented, it's maybe not as nice as it seems. So that's why he's trying to get out and he can't leave. So you'll see some of it's, you can figure it out, but there are a lot of things in here that are hard to understand. All right, well, we got to move on with this. There are a lot of lyrics here, and it's also a pretty long song. So we're going to get to the song now. As I always tell you, anyone on YouTube, we cannot embed the video. We'll give you a link in the upper right corner. Click on that. After the song's over, jump back here for an analysis of the lyrics. Anyone else listening any other way, through streaming or the radio, you should be able to listen to the song just fine. All right, so let's get to the song.
Musical musings, musical musings, musical musings, musical musings.
Welcome back. All right, so that was Hotel California by the Eagles. And the song is about the dark side of life and the loss of innocence. And as we start, it starts out positive. On a dark desert highway, cool wind in my hair, because remember what this is about. It's about losing your innocence. So you're expecting good things. Okay, so on a dark desert highway, cool wind in my hair. So we're either on a motorcycle or in a convertible because the wind's blowing through our hair. And it says a dark desert highway. In case you're unfamiliar with the deserts, because if you think of desert, hot, it says cool wind in my hair. Deserts actually get fairly cool at night. The sand is very easy to heat up and cool down. That's why it gets so hot during the day. It's really the sand heating up, which then heats the air. So it gets really hot during the day. But then at night, it actually gets fairly cool in the desert. You think of a desert as always being hot. Actually, at night, a desert can get quite cool. So a dark desert highway, it's at night. So that's why we have cool wind in my hair. Warm smell of colitas rising up through the air. Okay, this is one word I should have looked up because it's not actually a regular English word. It's a Spanish word, and I'm not sure what it means. I'm not sure what colitas are. So sorry about that. We're going to skip that word because it's not an English word. I should have looked that up. I should know what that is. Okay. Up ahead in the distance, I saw a shimmering light. Head grew heavy and my sight grew dim. I had to stop for the night. Okay, so I sang that a little bit wrong. Sorry about that. So up ahead in the distance, he saw a shimmering light. Shimmering, that means like when the light is kind of hard to see. So his head grew heavy. He's getting tired. Sight grew dim, hard to see. And that's one of the reasons why the light is kind of shimmering as well. Had to stop for the night. In other words, he's tired. The light he sees, that's a hotel. It's the Hotel California. That's a hotel. So he's going to stop for the night. Okay. There she stood in the doorway. I heard the mission bell. I was thinking to myself, this could be heaven or this could be hell. Okay, so she stood in the doorway. I heard the mission bell. This is a term I'm not really sure what they're using here, what they mean by mission bell. They do have bells at hotels, like to get the attendant up there. But I'm not really sure what they mean by the mission bell. I don't know if there's a mission nearby. That would be like a missionary place, something like that. There could be. And they a lot of times will have bells there. That's like a religious place. Could be nearby. I'm not really sure what that's referring to. Again, this has this song does have a lot of weird lines in it that are a little tricky. I was thinking to myself, this could be heaven or this could be hell. All right, so he's already kind of got some sense that, maybe something's not right here, but it also looks kind of nice in some ways. So could be really nice, could be really bad. Okay, then she lit up a candle. She showed me the way. There were voices down the corridor. Thought I heard them say. And we'll get to what they said in just a second because that's the chorus. So she lights up a candle and showed him the way. Okay, all right. That one's pretty easy, right? Probably taking him to his room or something like that. That's pretty easy. Although I'm not sure why we need to light up a candle. We have no lights at this place. Clearly it has lights because we saw the shimmering lights. They have electricity. A little weird. It's probably one of the reasons why he thinks this could be heaven or this could be hell. Candles are kind of romantic. At the same time, it seems like this place is a little dark. All right, there were voices down the corridor. A corridor is like a hallway. So down at the other end of the hallway, he's hearing people. And thought I heard them say, and then we get to the chorus. Welcome to the Hotel California. Such a lovely place. Such a lovely face. There's plenty of room at the Hotel California. Any time of year, you can find it here. Okay, so this is, again, a little weird. Sounds welcoming, right? They say, welcome to the Hotel California. It's a lovely place. Plenty of room. But it almost sounds like they're almost too inviting, like they really want you there. Again, it's a little tricky because they tell you, oh, there's plenty of room anytime. You can find it here. It's like they're trying to lure you in. Again, it's that whole loss of innocence. They're trying to trick you. So this is a really confusing situation for this person, the person that's basically singing the song. All right. Her mind is Tiffany twisted. She's got the Mercedes Benz. She got a lot of pretty, pretty boys who she calls friends. Okay. Her mind is Tiffany twisted. What does that mean? Tiffany. It's talking about like the jeweler, Tiffany. She's got a Mercedes Benz. So all she's concerned about is money and boys. She's got a lot of pretty, pretty boys who she calls friends. Okay. How they dance in the courtyard. Sweet summer sweat. Some dance to remember, some dance to forget. All right. So they're dancing in the courtyard. Looks like they're having fun. But again, this is a little bit, weird because her, I guess we're talking about the girl that let him in, the woman that let him in. She's just there for the money and the boys. So sounds a little questionable. They are dancing in the courtyard. That sounds fun, right? Having some fun. Sweet summer sweat. So they're probably sweating because, it could be hot. Although we are there at night. Should be cool. Who knows? But maybe they're dancing hard. That's why they're sweating. Okay, some dance to remember, some dance to forget. So what that means, okay, this one we can kind of interpret. It sounds a little weird, right? Some dance to remember, some dance to forget. What does that mean? All right, well, sometimes, if you go on vacation, you're at the hotel, right? You're on vacation. You're making memories, having a great time making memories. So you're some dance to remember. Sometimes you need to get away because there are bad things going on in your life. So some are dancing to forget about the bad things. Some people are there, have fun, forget about the bad stuff. So some dance to remember, some dance to forget. So I called up the captain. Please bring me my wine. He said, we haven't had that spirit here since 1969. Okay, so I called up the captain. Once again, a weird term. Captain is the head of a boat. I'm not sure what they're talking about with the captain here, but it sounds like we're talking about maybe the person at the hotel who could bring you some wine to your room or wherever you are in the hotel. So you're talking about someone that works at the front desk, something like that. And they could possibly be referred to as a captain. A little bit weird, but yeah, okay. Please bring me my wine. All right. He said, we haven't had that spirit here since 1969. Okay. When you talk about spirit, it doesn't mean, ooh, ghost. No, it means that a spirit is also another word for like alcohol. So he's saying we haven't had that type of alcohol here since 1969. Okay, we continue. And still those voices are calling from far away. Wake you up in the middle of the night just to hear them say. So I don't know if we're talking about the same voices that were down the corridor. I have to guess that maybe we are because they're going to say the same thing. Because what comes after that is the chorus again. Welcome to the Hotel California. Such a lovely place, such a lovely face. We're living it up at the Hotel California. What a nice surprise. Bring your alibis. Okay, we did change that last line there, though. Okay, it was what a nice surprise. Bring your alibis. Once again, a little bit weird. Nice surprise. That should be a good thing, right? Everyone likes a nice surprise. Bring your alibis. Okay, what you have to know is what an alibi is. An alibi is a story you have, and it could be true. Some people do try to make them up, so it could be false. In this case, it sounds like they're telling you to come up with a false one. So this is probably a false one, but sometimes they're true. An alibi is when something bad happens. You want to be able to prove that you were never even there. You weren't even around for it. That is an alibi. It's one of the reasons why when you hear about these crazy stories where someone will hire someone else to kill someone. You hear a crazy story like that? Well, one of the reasons they do that is so that they themselves, the person who hires that other person, so that they themselves can go be somewhere else. And usually they'll go be somewhere else where a lot of people will see them. So everyone will know that, oh no, he was out at the casino or out at this restaurant or he was at a party with friends when all that bad stuff was going on. So no, it couldn't have been him. Couldn't have been him. That's an alibi. You want to be able to prove you were somewhere else when something bad happened. So they're telling you to bring your alibis? That means there's going to be some bad stuff going on here if you need to bring an alibi, if you need to have an alibi, because you basically don't want anyone to know that you were at the Hotel California. Bring your alibis. Okay, so again, you can see this a little crazy, Okay. Could be heaven or this could be hell, like that line said. All right, we get to the final verse. Mirrors on the ceiling, pink champagne on ice. And she said, we are all just prisoners here of our own device. Okay. There's a lot in these three lines. Okay, so first of all, mirrors on the ceiling. This is this is I have to admit this is a clever reference. A song in the 1970s. It was hard to get away with really talking about sex. That's a topic you don't want to talk about, especially back in the 1970s. Even now, there are some YouTube videos where they won't even say the word because it's intended for like all audiences. You don't want children to hear the word sex. So this is even on YouTube today. Some people won't say that. That's what this is in reference to. Some people that have some weird kind of ideas about that, they want to be able to watch themselves doing it with whoever they're doing it with. So you're in bed and there's a mirror on the ceiling. That's the point of the mirror on the ceiling. That's what that reference is. So it's a reference about sex and being a little bit weird about it. Having your own kind of weird things you like to do. Okay, pink champagne on ice. And she said, we are all just prisoners here of our own device. And so that's kind of what she's talking about too. Because of our own device, when we're talking about having a device like this, what it means is having your own bad thing that you like to do. It could be drinking too much. It could be smoking marijuana. It could be doing too much of what we just talked about, too much of that. It's whatever bad thing it is that you like to do. Most of those bad things are okay to do in a little bit at a time, but that's kind of all this is about. So there's a lot of it. And not only is there a lot of it, but some of it, people are doing in some weird ways, like with the mirrors on the ceiling and things like that. That's what she means by your own device. And she says we're all prisoners here of it. So, they can't get away from that. Okay. And in the master's chambers, they gather for the feast, stab it with their steely knives, but they just can't kill the beast. All right, so this one's a little harder to understand, but the master is probably like, literally, it would be like the person that runs the hotel, but there's obviously going to be a different meaning to that here. It's probably going to be the people that are, maybe the bad people that are here. So they're gathered for the feast, so they're all gathered together to eat. That's what a feast is. Master's chambers, that when you say chambers, that's his room. So the master's room. They stab it with their steely knives, but they can't kill the beast. The beast is like whatever the meat is they're eating. But this is a little hard. This one is one of these parts that's a little hard to understand. It says they just can't kill the beast. Obviously, if it was a real feast, you're eating food, it would be dead already. It's meat. There's something what I think this is probably in reference to is it's making a kind of religious reference. When we talk about the beast, it's the devil. In like Christianity, which most of these guys are from America, that's the most popular religion there. So what I think what they're talking about is just like she says, we are all just prisoners here of our own device. We can't get away from it because it's like the devil is the one that's making you do these bad things. And so we can't kill the beast. And the master might be the devil. So we're in the master's chamber. Well, it shouldn't be because he's trying to kill the beast as well. It's not clear what. Again, this one's a little hard to interpret. But at any rate, they're gathered for the feast. They try to kill the beast, and they can't. Okay? So obviously, this is turning out to be quite a crazy place. So in our final verse, last thing I remember, I was running for the door. So now he's trying to get out. Had to find the passage back to the place I was before. So wherever that is, get out of here. Relax, said the night man. The night man is like a guard, person that's watching the place at night. We are programmed to receive. In other words, they only receive visitors. You can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave. So that's a really bad, ominous thing, right? You can check out, so you can go to the desk. Think about it like a real hotel. You go to the front desk, you check out. You go to walk out the front door, and it's locked. You can check out, but you're not leaving the hotel. So again, they're prisoners here. They're locked in here. So this was supposed to be good, right? Looked like this nice place. Beautiful. Started out kind of nice. It was already a little questionable even early on. We had this could be heaven or this could be hell line pretty early on. But kind of seemed okay. At first. But then you see it gets kind of worse and worse and worse as it's all about all of these bad things. And so the whole story is kind of easy to understand. There are some individual parts here that are hard to, lines here that are difficult to understand. Like in the master's chambers, they gathered for the feast, stab it with their steely knives, but they just can't kill the beast. What are we talking about there? Again, I think I kind of understand can't kill the beast part, but some of those lines are a little hard to understand. But the whole story is pretty clear, and it goes back to what they intended this song to be about. And I think they were successful in doing that. You're stepping into this thinking, this is wonderful. In fact, we start out right away, beautiful, on a dark desert highway, cool wind in my hair. This is wonderful. See a shimmering light. Now, shimmering, that means the light is just kind of dancing around, probably because it's hard for them to see, but we usually use that word in a good way. So you see a shimmering light. That's good. That's nice. So, we're going to the Hotel California. Wonderful. And then gradually gets worse and worse. So again, it's about the loss of innocence. All right, so that's this song. That's the song, Hotel California by the Eagles. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning, the Eagles are probably one of the most famous bands of all time. Again, a little bit lower than some of the most popular ones. Beatles, Rolling Stones, even Led Zeppelin and Rush are probably a little more popular, although Rush, that's really close. I think Led Zeppelin is probably just a tiny, tiny, tiny bit above Rush in popularity. Not for me. I'm just saying overall. For me, a lot of people would hate me to say this, but I'm not that big of a Led Zeppelin fan. I'd take Rush any day over Led Zeppelin. But I think Led Zeppelin overall is slightly more popular than Rush. So Rush and the Eagles are probably very close. But the Eagles might still be just a tiny, tiny, tiny step below Rush. It's really close, really close. So they're not like the biggest of all time, but they're very big. So they've had at least a dozen great songs, at least. And of course, when I say they're one of the biggest ever, we're only talking about in kind of the rock and roll genre. If you talk about pop, there are going to be bigger names, people like Michael Jackson, Whitney Houston. Right now, Taylor Swift is really popular. Those names would be bigger than the Eagles. But again, not that much, even they wouldn't be that much, because everyone knows who the Eagles are. Everyone knows Hotel California. Okay. They have lots of great songs, though, other than Hotel California. Some of them, just to give you some examples, I mentioned Life in the Fast Lane earlier because it's probably my favorite song. Take It Easy. Peaceful, Easy Feeling. Best of My Love. Lion Eyes. Take It to the Limit. And one which is kind of a cover song, but it was actually did quite well. It's a good song. Desperado. And they got lots more. So I always encourage listeners to go listen to these bands, these artists that we do on this show. So yeah, go listen to more from the Eagles. They're not one of my favorite bands, even though they're really popular. But again, that's not to say I don't like these songs. I like Hotel California. I really like Life in the Fast Lane. Some of these other songs I mentioned of theirs, I like as well. We all have our own preferences. I played some of these songs for some of my students. We were doing like a listening exercise to listen to the lyrics. And some of my students were like, "Oh, teacher, can we listen to some pop songs?" Because they don't like this style of music. So we all have our own opinions on music. So it's okay if you don't love all this music that we do. But if you like it, go listen to more from the Eagles. They have lots of great songs. Their songs also vary quite a bit in their style. So they are a little bit fun to listen to, even though, like I said, they're not one of my favorite bands. They're fun to listen to. So go check out their music. All right. Thanks for joining us for today's Musical Musings program. Please stay with us now. Also, make sure you tune back in next week for another great song on our program. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Thank you.
Musical musings, musical